Hey, good day, good afternoon, and wherever you are in the world. My name is Marcel Hyde, channel Marcel Mindset.
One, two, three, four.
I want to remind you guys, please hit that subscribe button below, hit that notification bell, because these are episodes that you don't want to miss out on. For those of you out there, if you're lacking in faith, you're lacking in hope, God is there for you. God is willing to guide you and lead you and direct you. Hello, world, and welcome to another episode of Marcel Mindset TV. This is episode 11. All right, guys. Sorry, my apologies. Wow, we've done so many. It is episode 12. Okay, lucky number 12. I'm born on May 12th, so this is a very special episode. Here today on the show about a friend of mine. Like I said before, they say the best coast is the West Coast. And you guys are going to see that here today from this gentleman that I brought on the show. And before I introduce my guest, I'd like to say, please subscribe to the channel. Click that like button below so you can get the notifications. Click the notification, click the subscribe buttons so you guys can get plugged in. When episodes drop, it goes straight to your inbox. So, guys, I'd like to introduce to the show Ian Coburn. How you doing, Ian?
I'm really great, Marcel. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. It's an honor. I'm very honored that you invited me on this. So thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you. I know Ian has a lot going on. And I just want to start off by saying I met this guy probably in 2017 or 2018. And there was something about this guy. He had a spark about him. And the things that were coming out of his mouth inspired me to get on a certain path in my life. So sometimes when you cross paths with people, they're going to influence you so big that you're going to make that change in your life. And Ian did that for me because he brought so many books out and he was like, did you read this? Have you heard of this? And once I started reading that, my life began to change. Personal development, personal growth. So I honestly want to thank Ian because I met him and he started me on this whole path of personal development, personal growth, because he was obsessed with it. He was passionate about it and he believed in it. And because of that, thank you. Because of that, he is where he is today. So for our audience, I know you well, and I got the privilege of knowing you. Who is Ian Coburn?
Yeah. And I appreciate the plug for the West Coast. I'm not quite on the coast anymore, unfortunately. I'm a little more in the prairies now in Calgary, but I didn't definitely grow up out in BC and played a lot of competitive soccer and skied and a bunch of outdoor sports, other organized sports, and then took that into eventually getting a biomechanics degree and getting into strength and conditioning coaching and working as a kinesiologist and I guess personal trainer as well. And so I mean that's an aspect of what I do professionally, but I have it's very important to me. I really appreciate your words actually, because to inspire people is something that's meaningful to me and have great relationships and just live a life of excellence in every area that I can. So take care of your mind, body, and soul, they say. So that's, I guess, a little bit about me and who I am and what I'm about. And I guess that's why I connect with you, because I don't, you give me a lot of credit here. I think you were on the path. I think you're on the path. But I don't know. I maybe gave you a book or two, but you were already reading. You're already doing it. You would have done it.
Yeah. This guy's being modest, guys. He's being modest. Thank you, and I appreciate that. So you say that you're kind of in the training, coaching field industry, right? Of training. Mm-hmm. So for our audience, a lot of people say, I can kind of go out there and figure it out on my own. I can read a book and train myself, or I can coach myself, or I can go out there and watch YouTube and just like build myself. So for our audience out there, what are the benefits of hiring a coach or a trainer?
That's a really good question. I'd have to, I think maybe to answer this the best, I'd have to kind of divide it up a little bit, because there's different situations and styles of coaches and trainers. So there's people who you just go see and they give you something and you just follow that. And I've been in situations like that. Maybe if you're working with a team, like I know you have a basketball background and things like that. So when you have that coach there, that team setting, your coach is just laying it out what you're doing, and there isn't a lot of room for individuality or flexibility or whatever. And in those settings, I've been fortunate to work in some of those settings with sports and things, and sometimes I try and equip people a little bit,
Right.
But the benefit in that case is like, yeah, someone can really just lay out like, here's what you have to do. You just have to show up.
Yep.
And that's one kind of coach. And that's one style of coach. There's people who choose to coach that way.
Right.
Like, this is what you're doing for the day. This is the class.
Right.
In general, as much as I can, I prefer to kind of equip people. And so I think in that sense, before we even get into like exercises and telling you that, the coach can be helpful for accountability.
Yep.
Just kind of keeping you on track, keeping you with someone that, I don't know if you've heard of like the book of The Power of Other,
Okay.
but it talks a lot how like and I'm probably butchering this but one of the big things that impacted me in terms of learning was that structure that we have in our life comes from other
Right.
people first.
Wow.
You learn it and they can imprint it, and whether that's having somebody else who's just an accountability partner, or they know
Right.
how to do something, and so they can help you learn the structure, and then you internalize it, and then it becomes a part of you. And
Right.
so definitely in the way that I coach people, sometimes it's like, yeah, just having me understand how to do that, and I can be that accountability for them. Another thing I would say is like being a filter for information.
Right.
I know you work out. I wouldn't be so. Let me know what your thoughts on this. Do you feel like you're overwhelmed with information on like what you should be doing to be healthier?
Yeah, because for me personally, there's just so much information out there. The internet's a black hole, right? So I Google how to lose weight, and then you got intermittent fasting, got the keto diet. It's just like, which one works? And then you got how to put on size. You got hypertrophy programs out there. You got, lift 30 reps. It's just so much information out there. So it is overwhelming,
Yeah.
Extremely.
No, exactly. And so I think that's where a good coach can come in. And not that I am on top of all the information out there. Clients bring me information all the time that I'm not familiar with, but because I have a kines degree and I've been in the industry for a while, I can kind of
Right.
filter some of that information.
Exactly.
And kind of help them understand how to process it. Like I've been very fortunate that
Right.
I've worked with kind of youth to people in their 80s, and I've worked in community gyms and to like elite sport. So I have a deep breadth of experiences, and so depending on where people are, I can also, because sometimes you'll read something but it's applicable for like someone who's more athletic and more performance based in their goal. Meaning to me, like, you have a certain date that you're trying to optimize yourself for, whether it's a season or a specific competition. Whereas like a lot of people have more health related goals where it's like, you're not optimizing for a date, you're optimizing to keep yourself alive with a high quality of life for as long as possible.
Right. Yeah.
And it's different. Like there's some overlap and there's some differences.
Right. Exactly.
So just filtering that information, filtering that mentality. I had a client the other day talking to me about like her footwear and things like that.
Right.
And we are talking about some changes she could possibly make in that. And I was just saying it's not like an either or, it's like a both and sort of a situation where it's like, yeah, you don't have to, you can start this like now, but you're not going to start full out. We got to like work on some things at the same time.
Exactly.
And she was kind of thinking like she couldn't start yet.
Yeah.
So there's that. And then as I said, like, yeah, you can like have tests to pick the best exercise for that
Exactly.
person, so you're more
Right.
efficient in hitting your goals,
Right.
and giving someone a starting place
Yep.
of where to start. That can be another thing that a
Yeah.
coach and trainer can help. But I think it comes down to like some coaches and trainers only do that, and
Right.
others are gonna really equip you, because I know I'm not gonna train someone, I'm not gonna work with someone forever,
Exactly.
and I want our experience to shape the rest of their life so that
Right.
they are better. Like, I wish gym class taught people how to take care of their body.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
which I want to build on, because a lot of times in school, we don't get that, nutritional education, or we don't get that fitness education where they're teaching you in gym class, hey, this is how you build your body. These are the proper foods to eat. So I like how you could go to a coach like yourself and get that information. And I like how you said accountability. Like, who's holding you accountable? You say you want to lose 50 pounds. It's not easy just to do it by yourself. You have a coach like Ian who's going to hold you accountable to that. And also, you said filter. Like I said, all the information is overwhelming. So you can filter that out, because that is your expertise. That is what you focus on. So I love
Mhm.
that. So,
Yeah.
fitness, right? Some people say fitness is not important. I'm making $1 million. Why do I need fitness? Or fitness is a waste of time. Why would I take an hour or two out of my day to go work out? So my question is, why is fitness important? And if someone is just starting out, where do they start?
Yeah. Um, well, I think maybe the better answer to that question too is to define fitness.
Yep.
Because it's a word that's thrown out there, thrown around,
Yep.
and it's just very popular, and it can mean a
Right.
lot of things. So to me, it often really means like more capacity. So like you want to run faster or further or lift
Mhm.
more, jump
Mhm.
higher, those sorts of things.
Right.
Um, and it's important because, well, obviously, as I talked about, like if you have performance goals, yeah, that's that's like how you become more athletic.
Right.
That's metrics that you really want to look into for your sport or whatever. For someone who, yeah, like they're making a lot of money, why do I need to take care of my body?
Exactly.
Sort of a thing. I guess I hope, like, it's sometimes this is a funny thing for me, because it's like I'm so in it,
Yeah.
and like a lot of the people I'm around are so in it, that it's like sometimes I don't always forget that like everyone's like news feed and this is just full of this information, but there's so much information out there about like how it helps you blood pressure, how it helps like
Yep.
cardiovascular health, how it helps mental health, how it
Yep.
helps and you name it. Like, I there's a lot of studies on things that exercise can help you with. So,
Yep.
um, I think if you're thinking about fitness, and like I think sometimes people really think about what's advertised, which is what's you
Mhm.
know quote unquote I call like the sexy things to do,
Exactly.
whether that's like
Yeah.
like aesthetically, or just like, yeah, this guy jumps really high or runs really fast, and you see
Right.
the Nike commercial,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, I want to flip a tire and do this, but it's important, because it's
Right.
like it's a foundation. If you have two legs and two arms, and even if you don't, if you have
Yeah.
a body of some sort, it's a bedrock of just like taking care of your body. And so,
Yep.
um I guess where to start, that's an interesting question.
Right.
I think so on there's the capacity side. There's also a area that I'm going to do a little plug for, that I don't think, this is an area that I actually work a lot in with people, because I think it's not talked a lot about, but it's kind of, if you think about like blood pressure, we know there's kind of an optimal, like you don't want your blood pressure too high, too low, you want to kind of
Yeah.
be in this range.
Mhm.
Well, you can think of your body the same way. You want to have a certain amount of mobility in your joints.
Mhm.
If they're too stiff or they're too loose, that's not a good thing.
Right.
And so a lot of times it's not only just about like improving that capacity to like run or whatever, but think about like, okay, like, actually, I can give myself an example. About around maybe 2017 when I met you, actually,
Right.
I started to get a little bit of tightness in one side of my back when I would squat or deadlift like
Right.
quite heavy. So
Right.
I stopped, and I
Right.
haven't actually done that since then.
Okay.
Really, a little bit here and there. I've tried it out a few times, and I've been working on some different things in my body that
Right.
I needed to go back and get rid of the weight and just make sure that I had the right amount of ankle range of motion.
Exactly.
There is people who kind of look into this stuff
Right.
and go like, okay, if you have this much range of motion, you're less likely to injure yourself.
True. Yep.
And you can like break apart your squat and like maybe your hips are tight. Maybe that's where you need to start.
Exactly.
Maybe you don't have good ability to hold good posture, or your shoulders are tight because you sit on a desk all day, or whatever the deal is. Like, where you start doesn't need to be going in the gym or signing up for this high intensity class or
Right.
whatever. There's a lot of like what I call low hanging fruit, just like those easy things, whether it's like just starting to sleep better, like kind of working on getting a consistent bedtime routine. That will affect
Right.
your fitness, your hydration. Like,
Yep.
are you drinking water every day?
Exactly. Yep.
And so, and to me, like, where you want to start, especially if you're like you said, you're kind of really focused on your career and you're doing really well and you're excelling in that area, but you just want to move and live a quality of life. Maybe it's just going for a walk around the block every day, or like starting with drinking your water every day. Just those little things. I heard someone talk about what is it? It's kind of an analogy, but thinking about how when we talk about like raising the bar,
Right.
there's actually two bars. There's your high bar, what you are on your best day, and then there's your low bar, what you're on your worst day.
Wow.
Instead of trying to raise the high bar, if we just raise the low bar, you're going to be closer and closer and closer to your optimal self every day.
I like that.
Like, of course, you can move both bars, but I think that's the thing with like where to start.
Right.
Is like, yeah, okay, you can go out and crush yourself and not walk for a couple days.
Yeah.
But what if you just like made sure you were always getting pretty good sleeps, and it's not perfection. It's like 80% or whatever, but it's like you're always eating pretty well. You're always drinking water. Like, that'll make a huge difference in people's lives.
Yeah, I like that. So I really like how you say it's the little things, because in life we want so much, like we want to create some life for ourselves, and we think we're going to get there tomorrow, but just do the little things first to get there. That's all it takes. Like Ian said, go for a walk around the block, and that walk can transition to now you're running on the treadmill. Now maybe you're competing in a marathon, right? So it's just, I think sometimes we see what we want and it's so big, it's overwhelming, and then we don't start at all, as opposed to just do something small and then eventually it could turn into something bigger.
Totally.
It's
I mean, I definitely I think that that's something we really overthink.
Yep.
Is we overthink that it's like these big things. We want to do these big things.
Yep.
But if you just do these little, you like where to start. I heard someone say once, most people, what they really need if they want to start exercising, they need to go to the gym. Meaning, put on your running shoes, walk to the gym, slap the front door, and walk home, and do that for a week.
Exactly. That's all it is. Yeah, I like that.
But that's an improvement. That's a change.
Exactly.
Like, just get up and actually walk to the gym and back, and that's more than you're doing right now.
Exactly.
And I like what you said. Yeah, it can go from there. Like yesterday, I went for a run in the first time in a long time. I mean, a little while, and like, I do some sprinting stuff, but then I was like, okay, I also want to make sure I do some long distance stuff. And long distance for me is not long distance for a lot of the people that I train. But so it's like, I ran for, I'm not going to tell you how long because it was embarrassing, but I ran 2.3 kilometers.
Right.
But it's like, is that a run? But it was like, I ran 2.3 kilometers, but it's like, I feel fine the next day. I don't feel super sore or whatever. And so then I can do it again in 2 days, and I can run and I'm just going to probably try and go a little bit faster and there's a really great um person called Phil Maffetone, and he has this whole philosophy around functional running. And what I like about it actually is he has a formula. You can look it up on his website, and it's a formula for like if you have a heart rate monitor, you want to keep your heart rate below this, and so it's like you take 180, subtract your age. If you have a chronic condition or you're overstressed and you're in kind of like burnout, subtract another 10.
Right.
If you have been there's a couple criteria. There's one where you can subtract 5. There's another if you've been consistently training like 3 to 4 times a week for months, add 5. But basically, it's you want to keep your heart rate below that number, and it ends up being a pretty low number. But I think it's so great for a lot of people to just realize, like, if they have some sort of device that does that, because it just makes you, it just stops you from going out there and blowing your, like, you feel good in the moment, and then like you're like, I can't go again for 3 or 4 or 5 days, and you end up with knee pain, and you end up with,
or you pull something altogether.
Yeah,
just go out there
it's like you. Right? So yeah, it just kind of like really makes you slow down, and that's kind of what I was doing, and so it's like I went about, as I said,
sometimes sometimes it's work smarter, not harder.
Yeah,
right? You know, work smarter, not harder, right? So that's what it comes down to. So I want to transition into nutrition. So basically, you know, we have some people that grow up and you see them, right? And they're stellar athletes. They got 8-packs. You know, they run the 40 extremely fast. They got a 40-inch vert. And then after their workout, they run to McDonald's. And the next day they come back, they take off their shirt and they're shredded, right? And you got the guy that's in the gym, grinding all the time, working out. And then he comes out and he eats the same way as the guy who's shredded, but he doesn't become shredded. So my question to you is, how important is nutrition in a fitness program?
Yeah, that's a really great question, because I know it's a really popular topic. So what I might actually say there is I'm going to lay out a bit of a concept that's not mine. I first heard it from some of the founders of like functional movement systems, but and we talked a little bit about like high school and not learning to take care of your body, and you know, this is exactly what I wish high school actually taught. So in high school, you learned about like how to play basketball, soccer, badminton, frisbee, tennis, all of these sports, right? And they sit up here. These are skills, whether that's running. Running's a skill too. Maybe I'll do this here so it's not in front of my face. But under that sits kind of this capacity for movement, and then like your quality of movement. Those kind of like the mobility and that stuff that I was talking about is like maybe you just need to learn to squat well before you add 300 pounds, right? And then under that sits this nutrition, your hydration, your sleep, and your stress management. And so that's when, you know, I think a lot of kids don't like PE class because it's skills. It's the top of the pyramid, and they don't have the bottom. They don't have the fundamentals of like just moving well and like good hydration, good nutrition, stress management. So that stuff, nutrition, like you mentioned, like maybe the guy who's a star athlete eating McDonald's, he will be better if he eats better. Exactly. But he can get away. He gets away with it, or he or she. You know, and and so your eating, your hydration, your sleep, your stress management, all of those affect the way that you move. So working on them is going to be, you know, definitely help you in whatever your goals are there. I do think we overcomplicate it again, and talk like just that low hanging fruit. So like sometimes I think a lot of people start exercise programs, when I have clients actually like this. I have a client who I've had for 5 months. Not, we haven't had sessions like weekly for 5 months, but like
Right.
our first time was maybe about 5 months ago. She
Mhm.
came to me wanting some exercises, and I've yet to give her really anything more than about 10 minutes of like a little like movement flow with some
Right.
kind of lunges and stuff that she can just quickly do in her office. Because what we've worked on is like, okay, where's a time of day? Like we first worked on her sleep schedule and like
Right.
getting that set so that she was not tired, and then she started to eat better, and
Right.
she's been losing weight because it's like she's actually just like taking care of some of those fundamental things.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I always say I'm not going to give you exercises until I know you have time in the day to do them, because then we're just
Exactly.
wasting our time.
Yep.
So so yeah,
Yeah.
I think nutrition is, and I would expand that to even like hydration, sleep, and stress management
Right. It's all
is like
together.
taking care of those big things that'll help everything else get. Because if you're not rested, then you're not going to want to work out and you all
Exactly.
of this stuff, right?
It
So
goes
it's
hand
like,
in hand there. It's all interconnected.
yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
all interconnected, and
Right.
I think also with that, like we talked about a little bit, small changes.
Right.
Um, there's 52 weeks in a year. If you made a change every 2 to 3 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
that's about 20 some changes a year.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And if you if like I know my life, I'm a little bit of maybe a nerd in these things. My day is about 40 to 50 habits.
Wow.
So if I make 20 habit changes in a year, that's half of my lifestyle.
Wow.
But most people don't have the patience or the long term thinking to like
Right.
realize that it's like if you just start in January and you like, okay, you start making sure you're dialed in with your water, and then in
Yeah.
week 3 you're like, okay, make sure I'm still dialed in my water, and
That's
I'm gonna add like
exactly.
I'm gonna one day a week I'm gonna chop up some vegetables so
Right.
that, and like make sure I have some easy protein available and things
Right.
like that. So it's like when I want a snack in the fridge, it's
Yeah.
just as convenient for me to eat something that's less processed as it
Right.
is to eat something that's highly processed.
Exactly. Right.
And it's just that, and it's like, hey, do that for 2 weeks.
Right.
And then you got your water, you got that, and then you add
Exactly.
one more little thing.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
that'll make a change.
It's almost like you have this self-awareness because I feel like a lot of people lack that. We're just operating from autopilot. We just wake up and go and not really think. I like how you really break it down. How you say 52 weeks, correct?
Yeah.
52 weeks. And like you're just incrementally implementing things in your life, these habits that in turn are going to give you positive and great results. You
Mm-hmm.
know, no one say you have to drink your water, have the vegetables, work out, do everything all at once, but you can make these little changes throughout the
Yeah.
year. And then eventually you look back and you're like, oh, I made so many changes that my life has changed now. So I
Yeah.
really like how you have that self-awareness.
Yeah.
Great.
No, yeah, I started thinking of my life in weeks.
Yep.
It's another book that kind of revolutionized the way that I
Like,
look at life.
like I said earlier, I told you impacted me based on the books, my friend. I told you. So I want to transition to mental health, obviously, because right now we're in a time period, and we just came out of the pandemic. Some people say we're still in it, and this whole COVID-19 thing, where people were isolated, people couldn't go to work. So we've noticed that people's mental health, have increased. Right, we're at an all-time high with mental health. A lot of people are suffering with anxiety, depression, and various other mental health issues. So on this channel, my goal is to help people with their struggles in life. If they're dealing with mental health challenges, that's why coaches are accessible, and for me, fitness is one outlet that I use for my mental health. So I want to ask you, Ian, what does mental health mean to you? And does fitness help with our mental health?
So, like having mental health to me means I have sanity. Otherwise, I'd be like running around. I'm just like but I've been fortunate
Yep.
in kind of like my broad range of experiences is I actually do work with a clinical psychologist.
Very good.
well, I have done a lot of work personally, but then also I work in um, like she sometimes brings clientele to me and I teach them breathing strategies and slight like restorative movement exercises
Yep.
help with emotional regulation
Right.
and emotional hijacking. Essentially, like when your emotions get in the driver's seat of your life and you want
Yep.
to like put them back, they're great indicators. They should be the dashboard, but not the one steering.
It's true. Yeah.
So yeah, I've been fortunate to kind of get some. That's actually where those come from.
Yep.
That's
No, you calm.
she
Yeah.
made those.
Yeah.
That's her
Yeah.
PhD, and that's where I got those. And so those pictures behind me. But yeah, it's helped me learn a lot just about that space. And does fitness help? Absolutely. It's an outlet, like I mentioned. I mean, if you look into it, like I said, fitness is so important. It helps with
Yeah.
so many different things.
Right.
And that can be from doing something with high intensity. That can also be down to just like, yeah, getting your breath, using your breath to control your nervous system instead of
Yeah.
having your emotions controlling the nervous system. You can
Exactly.
consciously kind of start to control your breath, and then that can help you calm yourself down and
Right.
regulate yourself. And
Yeah.
so it's a huge thing, and movement as well.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert in this space. Like the stuff that I do is just a little bit in that space,
Mhm.
but I stick more to like looking at quality of movement and how to improve that and how to improve capacity of movement as well. But
Right.
I call movement like a gateway habit, like a gateway drug.
Yep.
It's like this is a gateway habit. So because when you move,
Yeah.
you like I don't know. Did you work out this morning?
Yeah.
Or
Absolutely. I
yesterday morning?
work out every single day. Oh,
Okay. So,
yeah.
so
I
after
move
you,
every day.
yeah, after you leave the gym or you're done your workout, you're like mentally feeling good, right?
I feel amazing mentally.
Yeah,
I'm in a different state completely. It puts me in a different state. If I go in there negative,
yeah,
when I work out, I come out positive at all times. Like I feel so positive. I'm in a positive state.
that's great.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then from there, like the next choices you make in your day, they're probably influenced, right? And like
100%. I think about the next choice I make is a positive choice. If it's when I'm having a conversation with someone or it's the food that I'm going to eat next, I'm like, you know what? I'm in a positive state. I just had a good workout. Let me have this apple. Let me make some eggs. Let me eat something healthy. That's where my
yeah,
mind
exactly.
is.
You feel that it. That's why I call it a gateway habit because it's like you want to eat something that really nourishes you and
Yeah.
makes you feel good,
Yep.
and then you're like, oh, I'm thirsty, so you start to drink some water, and then
Exactly.
like you've moved, so then you kind of want to move some more, and maybe you start to think about you're like, okay, I'll take the stairs, I'll
Exactly.
walk here instead of driving or whatever, and it's like it's that little thing that just gets you to start to think about little changes, little things that, and you just naturally gravitate towards like,
Right.
yeah, I don't want to just like I find that when I'm the more I'm sedentary, the more I just and the more I'm like sleep deprived, the more you just want the sugar and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
and the processed food, and the more you're like
Yeah.
energized and moving and feeling good, the more you want to eat things
Healthy.
that are really beneficial for you and with just that positive feedback loop. So I
Yeah.
call it a gateway habit,
Right.
and I think it ties into your mental health, and I think they all tie into each other. The
Yeah.
mentally, the better you feel, the more you'll want to move, the more you'll want to eat well, the more so
Right. I like that.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
good. That's good. So fitness is very good for your mental health. It's going to put you in that positive state of mind, that positive thinking state. And that's what you want in life. You want to have the ability to think positive and keep yourself in a positive mental state. And I'm not here to say negative things don't happen. The reality of life, negative things do happen. But when you work out, you allow yourself to put yourself in that positive state. I really like
I'll
that.
just add this too.
Yeah.
Um, when you kind of go into it's like depression and numbness, this is something I've
Yeah.
learned from this person that I work with.
Yeah.
You disassociate.
Hmm.
You kind of disassociate from your body.
Yeah.
So what working out can help do is it helps reconnect you as like one unit, and you're kind of more back in tune with your body,
Yep.
and you can help. Not all, like, this is not a blanket statement. There's things that sometimes need to be done, but for most people in most situations, it just
Right.
helps you feel safe in your body again, and helps you. And
Exactly.
it's those sorts of things that actually help that kind of brain body connection again. So that tactile like feedback
Right.
connects you back to your feet, and you feel them and what you're feeling in the floor whenever you're walking around or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, it's a huge part. So especially if you're like,
Definitely.
feeling disconnected and out of it, then it's
Right.
kind of like brings you back to the present moment. And I think I don't know about you. I almost think there's like a spiritual side to working out sometimes. Like,
Yeah, I feel the
but
same.
it is, I think, in some ways, and people who are experts in meditation might disagree with
Right.
me, but I think there is like, when you really just dialed in, and you're just, if you're
Right.
not thinking about your workout, and you're just going, it's like there is a kind of almost meditative aspect where you're just really present in just
Right.
what you're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. Put you in this certain state of mind. And I've never worked out and been negative. There's like, it doesn't allow me to think that way when I'm working out. So it's a meditative state that you're talking about, Ian. So I want to talk about myths. I want to transition to myths because, there's so many myths out there, about fitness. Like, I don't want to get into the myths, but I want you to tell me, what are 3 myths about fitness that you would like to clarify for our audience?
Oh boy. This I could talk all day about this. And the things I've heard people say to me or whatnot. I think we kind of touched on one.
Yep.
That you need to make drastic changes. That's just not, most of the time, that's not true. There
Right.
are times when it really is beneficial for someone to really change their environment and really
Yeah.
like, but if you want something,
Right.
you want something that's a new way of life for you, and
Right.
something that's long term, and wants, like, this is something I always ask when people are saying they want to like lose a certain amount of weight, because that's
Right.
common. I'm like, okay, great. How long do you want to do, like, after the summer, do you want to go back to this weight that you were at
Right.
right now, or like what's the long term plan here? Like, so, it's like,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh well, no, I want to keep it off. I'm like, okay, so this isn't just actually like a 3 month, 6 month idea. This is like, you want to make a change. So then it's like, okay, so like, we can go about this 2 ways. We can go about
Right.
the really hard, steep way,
Right.
and you're going to change everything, and you might not like your life very much because it's like so rigid.
Right.
Or we can like say, instead of doing this in 4 or 5 months, why don't we stretch this out to like a year,
Exactly. Yep.
and say like, but we're going to just go at it a little bit slower, but we'll
Right.
make some changes that you can stick with,
Yep.
and then it's just your new lifestyle. And then when you get to that weight, you will stay at that weight.
Yep.
And usually they kind of comprehend that, but
Right.
I think that's one big myth, is like, you got to make all these huge changes.
Right.
It's like, you got to start going to the gym, you got to do this, so you got to change all of this,
Right.
and it's like I was saying, it's like, no, if you change 20 habits a year, you will be surprised at what your life looks like. And I say this because I'm finishing my first year of tracking every week. Like,
Wow.
like I have a whiteboard, and I write what week it is of the year, and I
Right.
kind of have some little goals, and I just look at them every 3 weeks, and it's like,
Right.
hey, how am I doing on this? And so I got a book at the beginning of the year called 4,000 Weeks, and I won't ruin the book, but it's a
Right.
really good book if you're into
Right.
those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And so it made me start to really think in weeks,
Right.
because a week is something, like, a year is really too long for us to comprehend, and a day, there's too many of them for
Right.
us to like, what's 365 days? Like, what is that? Like,
Right.
it's, but 52 weeks you can conceptualize.
Yes. Yes. I like that. Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's I think you'll be pretty surprised at like how far your life changes if you look at like, okay, if I change 20 habits in a year, that
Yeah.
doesn't sound like a lot, but it'll change. It'll
It'll
change
change.
things.
Yeah.
So that would be one. Um, I think this one is a myth that's been created
Right.
by marketing and our like the industry that I'm in to some extent.
Right.
Unfortunately, it's like we created this problem ourselves,
Yeah.
but it's this idea that like going to the gym or working out is for certain people, and you have
Wow.
to look a certain way before
Yeah.
you start working out, or you have
Right.
to be a certain identity. You have to be an athlete. You have to
Workout. Yeah.
look this way before you start working out.
Right.
If you have a body, working out's for you.
Yep.
Like, like
Everybody. It's for
yeah,
everybody.
it's for everybody. Like I heard someone say, we're all athletes, just at different levels.
Yeah. I like that.
But it's true. Like
Yeah.
you use your body every day to get from point A to point B. I don't care if that's upstairs to downstairs, or if like
Yeah.
you're paid because of how you use your body to perform on a field or a court or whatever.
Right.
You still need your body to do stuff.
Right.
And
Yep.
we talked about the importance of your brain and your body.
Right.
Probably however you create income, whether it's through your body or through your mind, your body influences you.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think that's just a myth that I really wish we didn't have, and we were really not
Exactly.
glorifying certain exercises and perspectives. And it's something I found was a big.
Right.
I don't know if like I'd love to hear your comments about like kind of the people you knew through the last couple of years and
Right.
when gyms were shut. I know some people really struggled,
Yeah. Big time.
and while gyms are a way to get exercise, something I really tried to help people with is like gyms are not the only way to get exercise.
No.
Like I live in Calgary, there's mountains. Go
Exactly.
go walk one of those.
Yeah. And sometimes you could do it from your own household, right in your own living room, right? You don't really need to go to the gym per se. You can do it right from the comfort of your home. You can use your chair. You can do dips from the chair. You can do push-ups on the ground, right? You can do jumping jacks, right? There's different ways that you can work out. It doesn't necessarily have to be the gym.
Yeah, you can just go for a walk.
Go for a walk.
Like
COVID-19 did not stop us for going for a walk. All right.
Exactly. Exactly. Like that was one of the things I loved about it so much is like I started to see, like I used to live pretty close to a park and it was nobody used the park.
Yep.
And then that first summer of 2020,
Mhm.
it got to a point where it's like, if it was a nice Saturday, Friday afternoon, you might not get a spot at the park.
Right.
Like,
Yeah,
and there was
Yeah.
people coming out. There was some people that would come out and they'd like pull up with their car and they unload their barbells and their weight plates and like they had a full gym setup out there. And then there was other people who were just hanging out with friends or playing games. People would just play games in the park. But that was one thing I really, and it's kind of unfortunate that like we've had a couple summers where there was a lot of smoke here.
Right.
And that's kind of really cut back the park usage, I noticed.
Right.
And even when it's nice now, people aren't doing that as much, which kind of makes me sad because I was like, I thought that was such a great, like, I just really like that.
Yeah.
Go outside, enjoy the weather. You can go for a walk. You can go up. Yeah, I don't have a gym membership. I canceled it. Well, partially because I was like, okay, if I'm trying to encourage this with other people, I got to be the example. So I got to figure out how to. And it's like, I go to the park. I just moved like a little while ago, and one of the first things I did was found a place where I can go do my sprints and my conditioning training, and have some weights, and I do that downstairs. And it's like you can ride a bike. You can do.
I like that. Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing is like it doesn't need to look like going to the gym. It doesn't. It can if you don't like going to the gym and lifting weights, then don't do that. Go ride your bike if that's what you really like. Go. Yep. I mean, there's kind of 3 areas. You want to make sure you're getting some cardiovascular health, some muscular health, some mobility stuff. But as
Right.
long as you're kind of getting some things in those three
Yeah,
areas, you don't need a gym.
that's
So
true.
that's the next one.
Number two,
Um, Another one, I'd say more is better. That's a myth.
more is better. I like that. More is better.
That's a myth.
Yeah.
Um, I think and it comes from this whole, like, when we talked about fitness, this whole idea of like capacity
Right.
and just like wanting to run faster, farther, whatever. It's just like you
Mhm.
won't, like, we're just the society. We're just more, 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 more.
Right.
And completely honest, most people are like so tired, so stressed.
Exhausted. Yeah, it's true.
Their system doesn't need more. They need more rest.
More.
They need more recovery. Like, they need more.
Truth right there. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just like, you don't need more social events. You need
No.
more quiet time. You
No.
need
Yeah. It's true.
like,
Yeah.
there's people on both extremes,
Right.
but like
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that's, I think it's about harmony,
Yeah.
and your body. The whole point of exercise is to stimulate your body to
Hmm.
adapt. And it
Right.
doesn't adapt actually when you're exercising. It adapts when you're recovering and you're
Wow.
resting.
Yeah, I like that. Okay.
And so if you're always training, it doesn't have time to adapt. If
Wow.
you're overstressed and then you add more stress load on top of that from your training,
Right.
you aren't going to respond the way that you hope to respond.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yeah, I think that's a one that I really, that's like
Those
a
are, yeah, more
mentality
better.
that
So,
I really wish
yeah,
people could wrap their head around, that
I like that. And then,
more is not always better.
no, no. Sometimes they say less is more.
Yeah.
So kind of, I understand that philosophy where more is better. It's not always better to do more. You might be doing yourself a disservice by doing more.
Yeah.
Like you was saying, if you're not getting adequate rest, your body's growing when it's resting. So don't think you have to train 7 days a week. So I really like those myths because there are a bunch out there. And like you said, you could talk all day. But we do want to transition here to mindset, right? Like, you got this mindset and you've had this mindset from when I met you. Like, I knew that you were going to be successful, that you were on the path to success. Like, you just had this mindset, and, when people hear the word mindset, so many different things come to their head. And I ask this question all the time because this is Marcel Mindset TV, right? So I ask this question to all my audience, or sorry, all my guests that I bring on the show, because I find mindset to be a word that could be extremely subjective. It's not just one meaning, and it can mean something different to everyone. So when you hear the word mindset, what does it mean to you, and how does someone develop a strong mindset, Ian?
Yeah. It's a really good question. Um, mindset, mindset to me is just the way that you interpret your experiences.
Wow.
Um, and you can change that way. That's what I work on a lot, and I appreciate all your compliments. I don't think I'm anything. I just I've been fortunate to get around some people and that have helped me a lot with that, and whether that's through reading a book or a podcast. I think that's how you develop a mindset. Is
Yeah.
like, your mindset comes from the people that you're around, and
Wow.
the input, like the input, whether that's social media, whether that's the news, whether that's a book, whether that's podcasts. The people that you surround yourself with, that's where your mindset is going to
Yep.
come from, and that's how you're going to start to interpret the world. And so I think the question is really like, does the way that you interpret the world give you the life that you want?
Right. Yeah.
And if not, then I really encourage you to find some people who are kind of
Right.
living more the way that you want, and
Exactly.
understand how are they interpreting the world and situations,
Right.
because you have a lot of choices. I think this is something I
Hmm.
didn't learn as early in life as I would like to, but whatever. Now, as my friend says, well, now you have wisdom.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
but I mean, that's a perfect example. I asked him about that, and he was like, "Yeah, you could think that, like, it would have nice to have, like, think the way you think 5, 10 years ago, but
Yeah.
think of, well, now you have the wisdom of knowing all these things that you did." And I was like,
Yeah.
that's his mindset, and that influenced me, and that imprinted on me, and
Exactly.
that changed the
Right.
way. It was like, you're right,
Yeah.
that actually is true, and it made me feel less frustrated about like the things that I look back on in my life and be like,
Exactly.
why did I do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. And you were supposed to do that essentially because what you did before took you to where you are today.
Yeah.
You
And
know.
so I think that's really it with mindset, and developing a strong mindset.
Yeah.
I mean, is about, yeah, getting around people who
Right.
interpret the world like you talked about, just being positive,
Yeah.
and like people who interpret the world in a way that's helping propel them towards their goals and propel them forward.
Exactly. Yeah.
And think about that. Like, what are your goals? Is the
Yeah.
way that you're interpreting the world helping you move towards them, or is it really like just leaving you frustrated and bitter and angry and
Exactly.
hopeless?
Yeah.
And
100%.
it's not to say that you can't feel those emotions,
Right. You're
and
allowed to.
those are very powerful emotions.
Right.
Because if you to be like, I love being frustrated with my situation.
Right.
It's
Yeah. I
that
get
might
you.
sound
I
weird to
get
people,
you.
but it's like when I'm frustrated, I'm like awesome. When I'm angry, I'm like awesome.
Let's grow.
Something's gonna change
Exactly.
because I've had enough of something, so I'm gonna
Exactly.
change. I'm gonna
Exactly.
grow.
Yeah.
But that was a mindset that I had to like, yeah, get some external input in and
Right.
shape my way to realize that, oh, that's what this could mean. Not
Exactly. Yeah.
and not
Yeah.
just go, I'm frustrated and take it into hopelessness and despair and I should do nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that
The
that
other thing I would say about, oh, go ahead.
no, I was saying, yeah, I like that frustration. When I'm frustrated, it's just like, okay, now let's go, let's change something, let's create something. If you're frustrated, it's not a bad thing to be frustrated. It's a good thing because then you're gonna want to make a change if you're frustrated.
Yeah.
You want to if you're frustrated because you can't figure something out, you're gonna try and find a way to figure it out. So I really like that.
Yeah. The
Hmm.
other thing I would add is I heard, I'm going to blow this, but it was basically, I don't know if you know who James Clear is, the author of Atomic Habits.
I've heard of the book, but I have not read the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
I heard him quote somebody else, or maybe it was his own quote,
Right.
but he was saying the best preparation is creating a mindset that handles uncertainty.
Yep.
And I was like, I think that that's so true. If you're talking about like a strong mindset, is a
Right.
mindset that handles uncertainty, because there's always uncertainty in life, and like,
Yeah. 100%.
look at the last couple of years. So
Yeah. We didn't
like,
predict that.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so if you're looking at a way to orient your mindset and like,
Right.
okay, how if you're not, I talked about orienting it towards helping towards your goals. You could also think
Right.
about orienting it towards like, okay, does looking at life this way help me handle uncertainty better or worse?
Exactly. Yep. I like that. Change the way you look at things, and the way you look at things change is what I'm
Yeah.
getting from that.
Yeah.
So, and I like how you say handle the uncertainty from Atomic Habits, because like you just said, we didn't predict COVID-19 was going to happen, and there's so much uncertainty in life. But what's your mindset when something happens in your life? Are you just going to say, you know what, I'm going to throw in the towel and I'm going to give up? Or are you the one that's going to persevere and you're going to grow through this? Did you get COVID-19 that came our way? And did you say, you know what, I'm going to use this time to work on myself? Because you had 2 to 3 years to work on yourself, whether that be to read books, whether that be to go on long walks, whether that be to connect with someone. You had lots of time to do that. So look at your uncertainty sometimes as a positive. There's things in there that you could see that are positive that you can make a change. And I like how you said your mindset comes from the people you're around too, because for the longest time I realized that, I don't know if I'm saying this right, but you are the sum of the 5 people you hang around. Your income will
Something
be the
like
sum
that.
of the 5 people, something along the lines of
The
that.
average,
The average of the 5 people that you hang around,
yeah.
something like that. Yeah. And I strongly believe that. So if you're hanging around people who are, creating things, people who want more, people who are positive, people who see that life has so much to offer, you're going to start to embrace that mindset, and you're going to develop that yourself. So be very aware of who you are surrounding yourself with. And I think in 2017, that's when I became aware of that, and that's why I wanted to always have some type of conversation with you. And that's why I've connected with you for so many years. I didn't fall off because you're that type of person that I want to stay connected with, just solely based off, not you're a great person, but your mindset. You have a great mindset, right? And you're always trying to grow and develop. And early in the show, I'm going to bring you back when I said books. You've mentioned at least 6 books here. So I want to say you are what you read. So if you're reading books, it's going to essentially come out of you. You're going to start acting in that way, right? And it's so important with the books that you read. I like you because you read books and then you apply it. That's the key, is the application. You don't just read, put it on the shelf and move forward to the next book. Ian has always been a guy where he reads the book and then he goes out there and applies the principles in the book. And that is the key. That means you've actually read the book and you've learned from that book. I like that, Ian. So I want to transition to the next question. We're kind of, concluding the show. We have 2 more questions to ask you after this one. So we're all on our own life journey. We're all on our own life path. Run your own race. Do not be concerned about what other people are doing. That's their life. You got to focus on your life. And I really want to emphasize, focus on your life. It takes so much energy, time, focus to build the life that you want. So I know you have a ton of experience, and today I've learned so much from you. So I want to thank you for that. So what is something you have learned on your journey in life that you think would help our audience?
I think there's two actually. There's 2 things.
I like that. Okay.
Now that I think about it, there's 2 things.
Yep.
Because what you were just talking about with like the books and stuff like that, and you're talking about like books are a way, to me, they're a way to associate with people.
Yep.
You get to associate with that author.
Yep.
And so it's like if you can have a personal relationship with them and be able to have a dialogue and a conversation and ask questions, that's even better. Right. But if you can get on a book or a podcast or whatever, then at least you can associate kind of in a way with people. But like you mentioned, I've read all these books. I read for 15 minutes a day.
Yep.
Most days. Right. And like by most, I'm talking like 95% of the days of the year, like pretty high number, but 15 minutes a day. And so it's like, I've never read a lot, but I just read a little bit all the time.
Right.
And I think that's like one thing that I've really learned on my journey is like, I stopped. I talked to you, I was like, I'm almost done a full year of kind of like tracking my weeks and thinking about this. Right. I feel it took me a while. This didn't happen overnight.
No.
But I feel like I'm in a good place in life in a lot of ways because I've slowly over the last 7 years, but then there's been some big jumps, Right. I'd say the last 3 years of things have started to change a little bit too. Just some different things I read and different ways I approach things and understanding myself, how I operate best.
Yes.
Just these little small changes. And I just little small changes and it's like I feel more and more confident in life because it's like, okay, I have this under control and I have a time that I know I'm going to deal with this. It's not going to happen right now, but I know. And it's like,
yep.
Like I'm just going to keep working out. I'm just going to keep running. I'm just going to keep doing these things and I will hit my goals. Yep. I don't need to go get this done today. It's like I'm just going to keep chipping at it. And I know I've kind of narrowed down and I'm chipping away at the things that are really meaningful and important to me.
Yeah.
And I make sure I chip at those every day. I don't expect to see huge changes, but it starts to compound. So I think that would be one big thing. And then the other thing I would say is to learn to notice your assumptions. And how to create clarity, whether that's through asking questions to others or maybe like some sort of journaling and sorting out your own head and thoughts and emotions.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, and I include myself in this, we operate on a lot more assumptions than we think we do.
Right. Yeah.
And we're not as clear in life about things as we think we are.
Yes.
And I think that would really help, like if people started to figure that out for themselves, what that looks like to create clarity. And there's some definite skills that are needed there through in your own head and conversationally to like help create clarity in conversation. But I think that would just, I don't know. I think that would be a big one. I think most people are kind of always a little bit in the cloud and a little bit confused. And they're scared to ask questions or look silly or whatever. I don't mind if I look like I'm an idiot.
I like that. I like that because someone told me once, they said, there's no stupid question. The stupid question is the one that you don't ask.
Yeah.
Right? And someone said that to me and that really resonated with me. Right. So there's no stupid question. Like if you think your question doesn't make sense or stupid, it's not. To not ask it is, right? So I think it's important to ask questions because by asking questions, that's how you grow. That's how you develop. That's how you figure things out. So don't be afraid to ask questions. I really like that, Ian. I like how you say it. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, like, sometimes you think a door's closed.
Yeah.
And it's not. You just need to ask them, like, you're just not there's just not proper communication happening and you're not understanding. And it's like, oh, there's actually an opportunity. Or you don't think you have choices.
Right.
But then it's like people say things a lot of ways that sound absolute. But if you ask them questions, it's not. There's options.
It's true. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Like that. That's good. Thank you for that. So here on Marcel Mindset TV, we try to help people with finding passion. Like a lot of people, they're unsure what they're passionate about. And I think this is a big life question, because some people, they find their passion and they're happy with their life. And some people are like, they go their whole life without finding their passion, or, they struggle to find their passion. They're just digging to find passion. And for me, passion is everything. To do something you're passionate about, always be doing something you're passionate about is my belief system. Right. So when you hear the word passion, Ian, what does that mean to you? And how do you find your passion?
So passion to me, and I'm maybe going to twist your question a little here.
Yeah.
Because, and it's not, I don't think I'm really deviating from your question, but passion to me is about your desires.
Yep.
And I think a lot of times people, not to hammer the same thing now that I'm thinking about this, but as people are looking for that like big passion.
Right.
They're looking for the big flame, not the spark. And it's like, okay, so I want to be able to do 10 pull-ups, say. And that's a passion.
Yeah.
It's something that gets me moving to work out or whatever the case is, to show up that day at the gym and do my exercises to work on my shoulder health so that I can do this or whatever it is, right? Sure, if you have this big life purpose, life passion, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think sometimes we overlook, like you have you have passions in your life. There's things that you care about, but we kind of we're always looking for the big one.
The big one. Yeah.
And I think that it's sometimes like, yes, you do find your passion in a sense that but I think it also kind of finds you.
Wow.
I think
like
I think about the things that I'm passionate about and I care about today. Some of those things were not even on my radar 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I had to meet people. I had to get in conversations and have experiences. And it kind of enlightened me, made me aware of, oh, that's something that I want to see change, or that's something but it's like, I didn't know that. I don't know. I'll go to you. Was that same for you? Are there things that you care about today that you didn't know about 10 years ago?
100%. Up until 3 months ago, I didn't know I was going to be doing a podcast. I didn't know I was going to be starting this podcast. But I had to go through certain experiences. I had to meet certain people that allowed me one day to talk about my experiences, to talk to people who have other experiences, So I didn't understand it while I was going through it, but today I understand that all the experiences I went through, I was supposed to go through for a reason. It brought me here today. And you said your passion finds you. This found me. I just naturally came into this podcast space, right? I was passionate about listening to podcasts because I wanted to improve. So one day I just created one because I'm like, you know what? This helped me improve. So why don't I share what I've learned and help other people improve? Right. So I really like that. Your passion finds you because this found me.
I think it's a both end. I think you've gotta, there's some work you gotta do, like what I talked about with creating clarity.
Yep.
I think that's why some people don't have the passion too, maybe, is that you're just not clear. It's fuzzy. It's there, but it's like you just haven't like chiseled it out or cleared off the fog or wiped it down, whatever you want to think about in your analogy. But it's there, and it's rooted in something that like you really care about. And sometimes it's like you think this is your passion, but then you got to break it down a little bit to really get down to like, oh, this is what I really, really care about. This is what's really meaning. But I think that's like passion can just be those desires. It can be something small. It can be like, I want to have a family. It can be I want to pay my bills this month. Exactly. It can be like, that's a passion. That'll get you anything that'll, to me, it's anything that gets you moving. Like, it's going to get you into action. And if you start doing those actions, that's going to lead to more passions and more desires. And then you get clear about things that you want to spend more time doing. And it just grows there. And it's kind of it's a snowball effect. So
Thank you. I like that, Ian, because we have a lot of people that are really lost and, either they're trying to find themselves or they're trying to figure out what their passion is. And I like how you said clarity is key. So getting yourself clear, having clarity, right? So that's a key thing. And I really like, passion. For me, passion, right? It's just, for me, at least, it's something where, I could do it. I don't necessarily have to get paid for it, right? That's another passion. It can be something that you're passionate about, where like you're doing something and you're not getting paid, but you love it so much, right? And one day you could potentially monetize it. You can find a way to monetize it. But passion, everybody's passionate about something, and it doesn't have to be something massive. It could be something small, like you said. So thank you, Ian, for that.
One more thing I'll add.
Of course.
I was just thinking about something, and then clarity, and then passion. You were just saying how.
Yeah, I was just saying how passion doesn't have to be, this something massive, right?
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Is like you have to. I think sometimes too, like you don't have to be passionate to get started.
Right. Exactly.
Like even if it's just a small little thing or whatever, it's like you start, and then through those experiences, reflect on them. That'll help create. That'll help refine.
Exactly.
I think a lot of people are waiting till they're passionate about something.
Then they'll start, Then
they'll do it.
Yeah.
But it's like it grows as you grow and as you go along. And it's like you're not passionate about it, but you start it, and then you start to find and you're gonna start things, and you're gonna find you're like, no, this is not a good fit.
Yeah.
This is not a good fit.
Yeah.
But that also kind of helps you create clarity, and that's okay. I think that's okay.
Yeah, it is. It's okay to try something, and you realize that that's not for you, but you have to try it to see if it is for you.
Yeah.
Right. And you never exceed your personal development. So as you grow, your business grows, your company grows, everything in your life grows. So you never exceed your personal development. So I kind of want to wrap up the show here. I have one last question for you, and then I want you to let our audience know, where they can get a hold of you, because I know after hearing this, people are going to want to get connected with you. So my audience, we have high school students who watch this show. We have some millennials, but we also have the younger generation that's up and coming. And a goal for me is kind of to equip the younger generation with the right tools for the future, whether that be in regards to fitness, finance, health, just their mindset, their mental health. I just want to give them these tools and equip them. And that's the purpose of the show. So when they get in the future, and they watch these videos, it's going to help them navigate life, right? So if you had an opportunity to speak to a class of high school students, Ian, what are 3 things that you would tell them, either life related or fitness related? Can be either or.
It's a good thing to think about. Well, I think I start off. I start off by saying, high school is nothing like adult life.
Right. That's the truth.
It's nothing like adult life, and
Right.
so go get some real world experience. Like one thing my life is my life, but maybe could have been beneficial for me. I don't know, maybe not. Is to start working earlier in
Yeah,
life and have
I like that.
like get a job and like understand what that's like uh and like we're just kind of talking about with passion and clarity, like reflect on your experiences,
Exactly.
figure out, let those experiences, just get a bunch of experiences. Like I don't know how you found basketball.
Right.
Did you play a lot of different sports and then you just kind of
Yeah.
figured out?
Yeah, definitely for me, I played different sports. I tried track, I tried volleyball, I tried hockey, I tried soccer, and then I tried basketball. And it was just like, I love this the most out of all my sports. And I was better at this sport than every other sport. So it only made sense for me to continue with this because I was naturally just good at this.
Yeah. So I think that's the thing there is like try things out, figure it, and then you'll probably make a lot of mistakes and fall on your face and fail and
Exactly.
you'll learn a lot.
Right.
But the other thing is like when you're high school till you got some time, you'll bounce back. Like
Yeah.
you'll like that's that's one thing I wish I'd understood maybe coming out of high school is I didn't the decisions I was making.
Right.
I mean, okay, you can do some things that'll really mess your life up for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%, yeah.
But for the most part, as long as you're kind of doing legal, ethical,
Legal.
moral things,
Exactly. You can bounce back. Yeah.
yeah, you'll bounce back. You'll be fine. Your life's not going to be ruined.
No.
If you go to university right away, you don't go to university right away.
Yeah.
You work, you do this, you travel, you
Right.
volunteer. And then I think that kind of ties into something else we were mentioning. So like the second thing would be then who you surround yourself is probably the most powerful force in your life.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so because who you're around will shape how you interpret all of these experiences you're collecting.
Yeah.
And so if you're collecting experiences and you're around people who can really help you interpret them and help you sort out like what it means to you and what you want, then that's going to help you
Exactly.
find things that you're passionate about, find
Yep.
things that are meaningful to you.
Yep.
And then I would say the last one is, and I know this is probably hard for people in high school, but the longer term you can think. I just heard this morning. Someone was kind of talking about how like the longer term you can think, like there's a better chance that you're like, and that's gonna be like your health, your wealth, your relationships. There's a higher like the
Yeah.
more likely you will be successful.
Exactly.
And so it's like, you know, think longer term in your relationships,
Right.
whether that's romantically or whatever. It's like if you can find those people earlier, or it's like if you can start making decisions that sure maybe maybe you're working, you have some money, whatever, but it's like take some of that money, do something that's a little bit longer term with it, invest it into something
Exactly.
that's invested into yourself, like invest into the
Yep.
reading or taking some sort of course that develops you in
Yep.
some way.
I like that. Yep.
You know, I get the allure of like
Mhm.
aesthetic goals and
Yeah.
in the now and there's and not to like I understand there's people who like bodybuilding, what they're achieving in that space is incredible.
Mhm.
And if you're wanting to become like a long-term bodybuilder or whatever,
Right.
but also think about like your longevity. Like if you
Right.
want to live to be 70 or 80 or kids in high school now, who knows? They'll probably live into like 100, 120, 130. Your body's gonna last that long. So think about like, what are you doing to it?
Exactly.
You don't want to wear it out by yourself. Like, this is probably a US stat, but the average life expectancy is 80.
Right.
The average lifespan, the average health span is about 60.
Wow.
So you want to bridge that gap. You want to do things like you want to think long term. Think about like, okay, are there things that I can do that mean that like the last part of my life, I'm still skiing. I'm still whatever it is that you enjoy. I know skiing's a big one for me, but it's like I want to still ski. I want to still get up and run around and do all these things and have energy to go travel and explore the world and so and be independent, like live independently, not like an assisted living. And so I know that's a long way away for me, hopefully, but like still, even a lot of the way that I train myself now is shaped not completely thinking about that, but that kind of ties it all back together, like making sure that I'm moving well and I've got these the eating and the sleeping and those things down because I know that that's the foundation that's going to keep me going. So I think that would be the last thing that I would encourage people in high school to think like you've got a lot of life ahead of you, so you can mess around a little bit, but also like think about like where do you want to be.
Exactly, that's the key, is to think. I like that. Yeah, from the man who has 20 habits that he changes in the year, Ian Coburn. Man, it's been honestly a true pleasure to have you here on the show. I never expected this because when I met you in 2017, you were on this path and you've grown so much in the past, whatever years it's been, 5, 6, 7 years. You've made a 365-degree transformation. Not to say you haven't been you weren't transformed at that time, but I could really see how the books, the mindset, the work that you've been putting in, and the consistency, you consistently putting in the work, how you've grown as a person. So I really hope that people that watch this here today reach out to Coach Ian for some coaching or training. So Ian, for our audience out there that want to get connected with you and maybe want to get started with you, how can they reach you?
That's a funny question. You can reach me through a couple different platforms. I have an Instagram. It's at Coburn Coaching. I don't post a lot on there because I feel conflicted. I'm like, I try to tell people to go outside, so why am I sucking them into Instagram? So I have that. I have a kind of cheap little website that I do have that's just, Coburn Coaching kind of page. There's a bit there about me and really like if someone wants to get in touch with me, that would be they go there. I also have LinkedIn if you're on that platform and you want to connect with me there. But I would be kind of like just looking it up on a search engine and finding Coburn Coaching, and you can you can call me through there, or you can and leave me a voicemail, or if you go to like book an appointment, you can book a phone call with me, which is probably really the best. And I'm always happy to chat with people and just like understand where they're at and how I could assist them and things like that. That's really the best. I'm a conversation person. I like I know maybe it's not the best thing for business or whatever, but I don't know. I'm growth oriented in a lot of ways, but there's some ways where I'm still stubborn.
Hey man, once you get on the Instagram world, it's over for you, man, because so many people are gonna benefit from the value that you have, man. The world needs to know about Ian Coburn Coaching, right? So I really hope you build those platforms because you have so much value, brother. Honestly. You know, I've grown from this podcast today. Once it gets edited, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to read it. I'm going to really dive deep into this again because it's a different experience when you're watching it as opposed to being in it. So I just want to learn from this. I want to keep growing. You know, you've helped me grow today. So I really, really thank you, because I know you were extremely busy. Prior to this, we actually had to push this back because Ian was with another client. So he's busy. He's working. So all the best. And thank you again for coming on the show. You've added so much value, like I've said, and keep staying on this personal growth, personal development path, my friend. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It's very kind of you to invite me on here and listen to whatever I have to say.
Yeah, whatever I have to say. Humble man right there. Remember, guys, subscribe to the channel. Click that like button below and click that notification bell. All right? These are episodes that you do not want to miss out on. And remember, if you found just a little bit of value from this podcast here today, from this show that we had today, share this with someone that you think can benefit from this. Let's help each other. It's all about helping one another, okay? Because when you help somebody else is going to come and help you. So thank you again for coming on the show. All the best. Marcel Mindset TV.